Chris, in one interview, you mentioned Campbell was your mentor. Did you actually meet and or collaborate with him personally, or was that figuratively? That's a great question.
Great question.
It is a good question, fair question. And I would say the answer is somewhere in the middle here. Mentor is a loose term. Some people define that as having worked with someone on a project. Maybe they give you guidance, something like that. That did not happen directly, but there's no question that I was, as they used to say in mythological terms, under the aegis of Campbell. I really knelt at his feet and tried to get everything I could from him. I met him on maybe 3 occasions, twice at book signings, or when he gave a wonderful presentation, and then I'd come up with a book for him to sign. But I did get his blessing. I wrote to him and I told him that I was undertaking to try to adapt his ideas to the specifics of screenwriting, which he didn't indulge in. And I think he got that message. And when he spoke the last time he was out in public, it was at a screening of a documentary about him, very good documentary. And his wife, so he was being hustled out of the hall, and a lot of people were gathered around him. And his wife saw me and said, "Oh, come on over," and I gestured with my hands. "No, it's okay. I see he's swamped and it's fine." And she said, "No." And she grabbed him by the sleeve and pulled him over to me and whispered in his ear and said, "This man is doing something with the movies." And he pumped my hand and he said, "Young man, you go with this stuff. This will take you a long way." And then he was out of the hall. So I accept that as a blessing. And I do think of him definitely as a mentor, because I've tried to step very carefully around his ideas, understand them, challenge them as they needed to be, adapt them to the purpose of screenwriting and other things. But definitely I'm in his shadow. So yeah, mentor for sure.
Well, you're like Prometheus. You took that fire and you gave it to us so that we could learn from it.
Right. That's like bringing the elixir back to the
elixir.
Yeah, and Prometheus got in some trouble for that, and I did too. There was a real pushback. People said, some professional filmmakers said, we know about all this stuff. We've been doing this for years, but don't tell everybody about it. And that was the mission of myself and my publisher, the late Michael Wiese, that we felt that this belongs to the world, not just the hero's journey, but filmmaking technology, how to do it, the secrets, the professional secrets of things, all that needed to be opened up. And so that was the spirit in which we put these things forth.
Wow, that's incredible. I just got to ask, have you ever met George Lucas?
No, I look forward to that. The only one of that sort of circle that I ever interacted with was the colleague of Spielberg, Lucas, and Francis Coppola, John Milius, the screenwriter of Conan and director of Conan and The Great Wind and the Land, and the writer of Apocalypse Now. And so on, and actually worked with there as a case where I did work with him on a project that never got made. He was doing, when I worked at Fox, he was doing sort of a Magnificent Seven set in the Middle Ages, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be a knight who helped the village to fight off some mean guys, and we just had a great time. He said to me, "I don't understand why the studios don't put you in charge. You're a great piece of manpower." That's what he said about me. So I didn't understand it either, why they didn't put me in charge.
Neither do we. That's awesome. I was always curious about that because I always viewed it as the big three in terms of the hero's journey, as Campbell was the academic. And by the way, I've read The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and to your point, I sometimes wondered how the hero's journey was interpreted. I was like, I'd have to read the same paragraph multiple times to really think I understood anything that he just said. I think he used the word esoteric, which is exactly so. But you had Campbell, who was an academic, teaching in academia for academics, writing for academics. And then Lucas, who entered academia, who then took this and applied it to Star Wars. And then in interviews when he was like, yeah, use the hero's journey, people are like, what's that? When they read The Hero with a Thousand Faces, they still didn't know what it was. So I feel like you were the third column there to be like, this is what the hero's journey is. But I think you did even more than that. I think you taught by understanding the hero's journey, and then you also applied it to how the same archetypal events occurred in your life.
Yes.
Bridge that gap between story and personal experience, human experiences. And I think you taught a lot of people about story structure. And I think that that's an incredible achievement personally.
Yeah, it certainly was something that was present immediately. The idea that, okay, this is a wonderful set of technology tools for making commercial films that will play around the world. And it has proven out to be that. But at the same time, it was clear that this is much more than that, as Campbell's work was, a guideline for living and for achieving levels of higher consciousness. That was his basic, crystallized core belief, is that this is all the stories are encoded instructions in how to become more human, more fulfilled, more conscious. And that might involve, great interchanges where you are transformed, or you, blow your mind somehow and have a connection with the universe. Or it might be some little realization of, I've been too hard on myself, or I misjudged her and I should, clean up my act. So people immediately started coming to me saying, it's fine for the screenwriting thing. That's great. But, in my life, it really helped me overcome trauma of the going to Vietnam or whatever it was, it got me through my first year of law school, or it got me through my divorce, or it got me through something that was hard, and it just really served. And I'm so glad about that it turned out to be useful, as Campbell was. Campbell's deal was that the hero's journey is in every one of his works, but it's always buried. It's in the middle of a 400-page book. It'll be on page 232, or it's at the end. It's the outline is almost always in there someplace, verbally, or he'll give a diagram.
Wow!
But he sort of embedded it and buried it under all the examples, and also his poetic way of expressing himself.
Well, and that's why the hero's journey isn't going anywhere, nor should it. It is almost like an echo of human action over millions of years, probably. And I'll keep this brief. I had a tough time in my life, and it was interesting because I was reading about the hero's journey, and I'm talking the lowest I've ever been, and I started reading about the belly of the beast and how the hero is sometimes dismembered or destroyed. And then how the hero comes back. And I just kept staring at that. I'm like, the hero comes back. And that was all I needed to feel like I was ready to go re-engage. So it has real life profound impacts because it does echo the human experience.
I've got a question here, James says Doug can trace a direct line back to Campbell now, because he's been on a live stream with Chris Vogler, who had been touched by.
Well, I would have a lot of work to do to earn something like that.
You got the laying on of hands. We've got.
Yeah, I actively do that with people when I give my presentations. I try to transmit something. I try to pass on something. And especially, I'm looking for people like Douglas who have put in the work. You went through a process by applying it to something and then seeing, and that's where the value comes. Apply it to anything, but you applied it to your novel and then found, well, that's a little weak and that's not completely thought out, and there's other ways. And so you are growing the thing and keeping it organic, keeping it alive. And I certainly share with you the blessing that I got So,
Well, thank you. That is awesome.
and that's your objective, is to pass it on. That's the other part of the contract here, is that you have to look for others in the chain who are going to go and continue the work, and give them your blessing.
Absolutely. The sacred fire.
That's right.